Hello, we're Two Fools Walking. So we're currently on day 12.
Yep.
Day 12 of our GR54 through hike, and we are at a fantastic col.
You might be able to see behind us quite how beautiful it is.
And we thought we would stop and give a review of our custom Cumulus 250 quilts. So, for a little bit of background, we've hiked the GR5 and the GR10,
yep.
both about 40 days, with some...
I mean, the reviews on our channel, I think they're called...
Wind hard tiny quilts by
yep.
Aegis Max. So they
yep.
were a sewn through quilt.
Costs about £80.
£80, yeah. So for this hike, we decided that we wanted to upgrade our quilts. We've been wanting to upgrade our quilts for a long time. Yep. We've just never really been willing to shell out the cash.
Yeah.
But so we decided now was the time. So we had a shop around and we decided to go with Cumulus because Cumulus were up for custom making us some quilts.
They're also a European manufacturer that helped reduce the costs.
Yeah. Okay. So my quilt is a Cumulus 250, but we had the inner and the outer made out of Tory Airtastic,
which is why they're quite such funky colours.
Which I believe is the lightest downproof fabric in the world, or at least if you believe the marketing from Cumulus's end. I also had mine made with an extra 10 centimeters of width over the standard width, which I think equates to around an additional 50 grams of down. So although it's a 250, I think it has about 300 grams of down in it.
Yeah, I made mine extra wide and also extra long, which I think added about 100 grams of down, so mine's closer to a 350 in terms of down fill.
Yeah, but remember that doesn't increase the height of the down, it just increases the square
It's just because
area.
it's bigger.
So we've been using these quilts for the last 12 days. I've used mine previously for about 4 days on the Southwest Coast Path in the UK.
We've had some particularly chilly nights up here. It's been very high and very cold. You might have seen a couple of our videos on the trail. So we have a good understanding of how these cope.
So we had a full-on snowstorm at one point, and I think regularly it's been going down to zero. You know, there's regularly been like ice on the tent or frost on the ground. The forecast says between about 2 degrees, but I think that's generally in the valleys, and we're up high a lot of the time.
Yeah. So should we go through our kind of features?
Additionally, before we forget, we also had them made with the higher rate of down
and the hydrophobic
with the hydrophobic down. So I think it was the highest down that they offered, basically, with hydrophobic coating. So we pretty much top spec these quilts.
Yeah.
Lightest fabrics, best down,
all the bells and whistles.
All the bells and whistles. So mine weighs 500 grams. And how much does yours weigh?
I think mine weighs about 575, but I don't have the exact weight.
So we're actually, the truth is we haven't weighed Finn. Finn forgot to weigh his before we left. I think it probably weighs about 550, 575. We'll detail it eventually when we get back to base camp. But mine definitely, measured mine, it weighs 503 grams to be precise.
Yeah. Which
is pretty awesome considering it has an extra 50 grams of down. It weighs pretty much the same as the standard 250. So as Finn was saying,
should we go through a couple of the different features and technical sides?
So features of the quilt. So it's not a sew and closed footbox. It is a double drawstring footbox on the top. Also, you've got a drawstring for the bottom, which I will bother to undo because that's what this is all about. So there you go. There's a drawstring on the bottom. There's also a baffle on the bottom. So this is a really big improvement over our Aegis Max quilts. On our Aegis Max quilts, there was no baffle on the bottom, and you'd pretty regularly get cold draft coming into the hole on the bottom.
I used to stick my socks in there to clog it up.
It also has a zip
that opens fully, so you can unfold it fully.
So you can fully open it up. In fact, I will demonstrate that now. So the zip is a tiny bit finicky, I would say. There you go. I got it on the wrong side.
Yeah, it's a bit of a it's not something you want to do every day. Unzip it, but you can, I suppose. Which is there you go.
So once unzipped, the quilt opens up. So you can see it's vaguely trapezoidal shape, bigger at the head end than the bottom end. And it has down baffles that go perpendicular to the length of your body.
It's got a nice, where can I find it? A nice thick neck baffle, which keeps it very cozy and tight around your neck, so and very warm.
I would say it's an overstuffed neck baffle. So when you do up the neck baffle like so, you basically get really good seal around this bottom.
And it's got some little clips along the whole length and some bits of bungee to clip it around you.
So in terms of the way the quilt is designed, I would say if you want a folding open quilt, this thing has got all the bells and whistles.
It really does.
It's got neck baffle, foot baffle, really nice quality zips. I would talk about the machining. So I know a little bit about manufacturing of products because I've made a tent and I've made a number of backpacks, and it is exceptionally well made. Like you can see the quality of the craftsmanship on this is absolutely fantastic. Like, these are not easy materials to work with, so I take my hat off to them. It is fantastically
They also
made.
arrived relatively speedy for a custom-made thing. I think it was about 8 weeks.
I think they said 10 weeks. I think it took 8 weeks.
Yeah, which was pretty impressive. So you
Actually,
do have to take that into account if you do order one. Though.
It is a long old make. So in terms of warmth, I would say they're really warm.
Yeah, they're much warmer than our old quilts.
So
that's to say.
We sleep in a really thin fleece top and some fleece leggings.
Yeah,
and we consistently take these down to 0.
Yeah,
without really any problems.
Yeah, I mean, I have not woken up yet because I was cold.
And that, like, in the past, we'd go to 0 and it would be getting cold.
Yeah.
Finley sleeps on a Thermarest X light. I sleep on a Thermarest Z light. So there's bottoms, that's pretty representative of the market, I would say. And, that hasn't really had a major impact. We've both been sleeping very warm.
Yep.
One night I put a down jacket on. I don't think it was the coldest night, but I basically woke up in the middle of the night and was like, oh, I should put my down jacket on because my head was really cold. And the quilt obviously doesn't cover your head.
So should we go through kind of like decisions as why we got the features we got? So
I think we should talk about the width. Yeah, so I went for the extra width. So my logic behind going for the extra width was, one, there was a little bit of hearsay on the internet saying Cumuluses were really narrow and you needed the extra width. I don't think that's true. After experiencing this quilt and the extra width is only 10 centimeters, I would say that it's really wide. I mean, the extra width is really wide, and without the extra width, I think it would be wide enough.
Yeah.
But my other side of the logic was, because of the baffle pattern in a Cumulus, so it goes across like this. You can basically sort of shake the down like this, like
onto over your chest instead of on the edges,
and focus all the down on top of you. And this really boosts how cold you can go with the quilts.
You can get a lot colder while being warm.
I wouldn't say a lot colder, but basically, like, this quilt I think is only rated to 1 degree, and by shaking the down, the fact I've got an extra 50 grams of down in there and shaking it on top of me means I think I can go very comfortably to 0, and probably I think I could go comfortably to a little bit lower.
I think you're probably good.
Saying that,
I went for extra wide because the old wind hard was so narrow I couldn't lie on my side because it wouldn't actually touch the pad at one point. But the extra width on this for a side liar is like so brilliant.
Yeah,
it touches the side completely perfectly. I do find the kind of way the down moves, although as Connor said, it is useful because you can put the down onto your chest. If you roll around a lot in the night, it can move off of you, but it hasn't been a real problem.
It is a double-edged sword. I feel like when you really depend on having that down on top of you, you have to not move around at night.
You have to be still.
Because as soon as you start moving around,
it
evens
to the
up.
edges.
I wouldn't say it goes to the edges too hard. I would say it evens up.
Yeah.
Originally I thought it was all going to the edges, but from experience now I can tell you that it's actually evening up, and so that's it. So you went for the extra length as well?
I also went for the extra length just because I'm 6 foot. I thought it's not designed for people that are 6 foot. I'll go for the extra length, and it's the correct length for me. I can be sitting, lying down, have on my back, and have it around my neck and my feet in comfortably. I think if it was much shorter, I'd have to be curled up.
So I'm 5'10", and I think that this quilt is only just big enough for me, and this is the standard length. So if I lie on my stomach with my toes pointed, I'm basically filling the entire length of the quilt with it baffled around my neck. So it is borderline the right length for me. When I'm on my side, it's more than large enough. Yeah. And normally I curl up a little bit when I'm sleeping, so it's most of the time it's more than. But if I think if you're basically much taller than 5'10", you want to be thinking about different sizes.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was going to say. So the quality of the down is amazing. The puffiness of these quilts
they're like clouds. I mean, compared to our other ones.
I maybe try and give you a perspective on just how much loft there is on this thing, but
it's a good 2 inches.
Couple of 2 inches of loft at the high point, these things are cloud-like. So the down is fantastic. The fabric is incredibly soft. So the Tourier Tastic, we went inner and outer, which is maybe slightly against recommendation because it is quite a weak fabric. And
I mean, we haven't really had it long enough to know about its long-term durability, but we sleep with socks on to make sure that we don't abrade our feet on the bottom.
So in the past,
and so far it looks
both of us
perfect.
have abraded our windhard quilt. So Finley abraded his windhard quilt with his very rough heels, and then I did to a slower degree. Finley switched to sleep socks, and that stopped the abrasion. So this time, for safety, we both just have a pair of 10-gram sleep socks, and I can see absolutely no abrasion at all.
Obviously,
on the inside of my
it's
quilt.
only been 12 nights.
Thing is, your quilt started to show abrasion within 5 days last
so
time.
I do think it's pretty good fabric, and the down does not come out of it really. It comes out less than it used to come out of our windards.
Packability is fantastic. I would say that basically packs down to the same size as the old quilt. Like, I don't really want to scrunch my quilt up now because it's just all puffed up lovely. It is noticeable, like when you take it out the thing, like it doesn't look all lovely and puffy.
It takes a good hour to puff up, maybe less than that.
I think it takes about 15 minutes in bright sunlight like this, but when it's cold and damp, it can take about half an hour for it. Or with you lying inside it for it to. You funny. You get into bed at night and it's all like a bit clumped up, and then you lie there, and about half an hour later, you've got this like big puffy cloud.
Yeah, it's good. We found no issues just in using down as well, even when it's been slightly damp. Like sometimes you go to bed and the foot box is a bit damp, but after an hour, your feet tend to have dried out and it's all okay.
Yeah. So we've been sleeping in a tarp, so basically as cold as you can get.
Yeah.
And had no issues. So pros: the manufacturing is fantastic. It's incredibly light. The down is fantastic quality. Cons: I'm not 100% convinced that the way to go with quilts is an openable quilt. So I pretty much never open my quilt for any reason.
We're talking about the foot box
here,
not the entire thing. Otherwise, you just have a sleeping bag.
But I think that probably probably it's a better design to have a sew enclosed foot box. And I'm not sure why Cumulus made this decision. Maybe that because they used to do a sew enclosed foot box quilt. Maybe they didn't sell enough of it. Maybe it was too complex to manufacture. I expect not, because they make sleeping bags and they're much more complicated to manufacture. I think that they think that people want to be able to open their quilts up, when that's not actually the truth.
You never really want to open it up. I think we've opened it up once and it didn't really even help.
So there's that. When I slept with it on the southwest coast part in the UK, it was like 15, 20 degrees at night. It was really hot and I was okay. I just, the flexibility to warm temperatures is fantastic, because you can open the bottom of the foot box a little bit, and you can, you don't baffle it around your neck, and you can really take those high temperatures.
Yeah, I think in general, compared to our old quilts, these are just in a complete different league.
Definitely. Another minor nitpick I would have is that it has a double pulley system on the neck baffle. Why it's not a single pulley, I have no idea. It just makes it more annoying to do up. Maybe actually I could hack this off. Maybe you could just cut one of them off. It's particularly annoying that you've got two pulleys to do rather than one. Overall, though, they're a beautiful bit of kit.
They're so good. They are.
For the combination, the intersection of weight, the cost, they were quite expensive.
They were quite expensive. Were they like?
So here we go. It cost us €500 when we bought them, and then I paid €100 in tax when I imported them into the UK. So it was €600 all in.
Yeah.
So about €300 each. So
they're expensive bits of gear.
They are the most expensive bit of gear we own.
Yeah.
By a long way, but they are.
But it's what you sleep in. It's what keeping you safe. I think it can be worth it.
I don't feel like have like buyer's bias here, because we've got like a lot of experience with bad quilts to really compare these things to, and maybe it's unfair, the comparison, but these things are leagues ahead. Like the biggest difference that we haven't really even discussed is the fact that these have genuine baffles in them.
Instead of sewn through.
Like cheap quilts are sewn through, and literally when you lie there at night, you can feel the lines of cold. While when I lie in my quilt, this quilt, I just feel like this big fluffy warmth enveloping me. It's totally different.
The quality of the down is just on another league. It just puffs up that much more.
Yeah.
You can tell there's the correct amount of down in it, instead of just a little bit less than there should be.
So, and the other thing is, they're handmade, custom made in Poland, so they're pretty sweet. Like,
they're pretty mega bits of gear. I think also they come in incredible colours.
And you can have them made in any colour you like. Yeah, maybe we should have gone 2 different colours, but you can basically customise the top and the bottom. Anyway, that's for you to explore. From us, I think it's a end game bit of sleeping kit, really.
I don't feel like I'm going to need to change this unless I'm going.
This is like a 10-year bit of gear.
Yeah, I think so.
They are fantastic.
You've got to look after them. But
I have no question that for Europe, in sort of 2.5-3 season use, a Cumulus 250 would do me basically. So I'm really happy with the gear.
Do you have any other things to say? Or?
Nope. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Let us know any comments if you want any more thoughts. We'll probably respond.
Yep. If you've got any experience with similar quilts or Cumulus gear, or even any other manufacturers, we'd love to know.
Yep. So bring it on. One take. So for comparison, here they are next to each other. You might just be able to see that Finn's is about 10 centimeters longer. We thought we'd go in and show you some of the detailing of various bits and bobs. So you can see this bottom bit here is a baffle. So this is the this is where the tension does up. So this is the footbox baffle. This is the, actually I think the zip's on the other side. So you've got a really nice focus, nice bit of zippage going on there. These are the sort of toggle designs. The similar stuff is going on at the front end. You've got, this is the clip, so it's pretty slick clip. It's like you push these two bits together to undo it. And again, this is where the tension is, and then this is the neck baffle here, so this all sort of squidges up inside. I don't think there's anything else major to say. Okay, there's a little bit of focus on Finley's label there, and I think there's another label somewhere over here, just washing instructions and whatnot.
Oh, there's a little label that says custom made as well.
Where does that label live?
It's just up here.
Oh yeah, you got a little label just for bragging custom made rights. Look at the loft on that with the Togue 750 for scale. That's crazy.